First of all, thank you all, the elders, for letting us do this Youth Sunday. I think we've done a great job so far. Just give them a round of applause. Everything's done really great. The scriptures have been awesome. The singing has been awesome. Everything, the prayers, the communion, everything has gone great. And so we just thank you for that. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to preach. You'll notice in your sermon notes, the only thing on here is a humble love. There's no other things. Usually you see there's bullet points or something. So I apologize for that. I do not have a slideshow because I am not tech savvy. And usually I know that what I would be doing, I'd be talking and I'd be like on the first slide and I'm almost done with the whole thing and y'all be like, what's going on? So I just decided to leave that part out. But we're going to be talking about Hosea. And to put Hosea, it's not that too long of a book. If you want to put Hosea into one sentence, it's that Hosea is a book of love. It's a book of intense, passionate emotion from God and from Hosea himself. But it's also a book of grace, of mercy. The grace and mercy that God has for his people, that he keeps clinging to them after they reject him and go after others time and time again. And Hosea knew this because Hosea, it starts with a personal love story. Hosea married Gomer, a promiscuous woman, which, yes, I had to look that word up. I did not know what that meant. So I'm going to just explain it. Yeah, it's kind of weird if you had to look that up. But it basically means she went after others. She chose everything but her husband, her lawful husband that she had married in a covenant, Hosea. She went after drink. She had intimate relations with other men. And she was terrible to Hosea, but still he clung to her. He did not divorce her. He pleaded with her. She humiliated him. She shamed him. But yet he still clung to her. But that is not the point of this book. The point of the book is that it only serves to relate to a much larger, a much longer, a much deeper, much more tragic love. God's painful love for his people. Ever since the beginning of time, he had been trying to win them. Ever since the fall of man, he was winning them back, and they were constantly rejecting him, doing evil in the eyes of the Lord, and he would do some amazing sign or save them from this evil, and they would come back, and the cycle would repeat. But it's so much more tragic because it was over such a longer period, and God's love is just so deep. But he did the same thing. He still clung to Israel. He rebuked us, he condemned us, but he still clung. And that was the thing that made it so intensely sad. The time of Israel during Hosea was a dark time. It was, the nation was plagued by idolatry, evil, murder, injustice, and there were very few that weren't walking away from the Lord. It was a very small number. But, so God decides to punish Israel. In chapter 2, which is where we're going to be reading out of today, chapter 2 is like a battle plan almost of what he's going to do. And he says in verses 9, "Therefore I will take away my grain when it ripens, and my new wine when it is ready. I will take back my wool and my linen, intended to cover her naked body." And then it goes on, it says, "I will stop all her celebrations, her yearly festivals, her new moons, her Sabbath days, all her appointed festivals. I will ruin her vines and her fig trees, which she said were her pay from her lovers. I will make them a thicket, and wild animals will devour them." What it's talking about, and I had to do some research on this because Hosea is so intensely emotional, it doesn't really explain a lot of things. Hosea is the last prophet before Assyria, a big country, invades Israel. And then we wake up 500 years later and it's Messianic times. It's the time of Jesus. Hosea and Amos are the last prophets before Assyria invades Israel. So it's talking about the Assyrian invasion that's about to come. He's saying, I'm about to destroy your whole nation. But all of a sudden, from verses 13 to 14, he just switches. He just flips around. He says, "Therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards and will make the valley of trouble a door of hope. There she will respond as in the days of her youth, as in the day she came up out of Egypt." Basically, he's saying, I'm going to restore her. After she goes through this terrible time, I'm going to restore her. She's going to get back everything I took from her. And she's going to acknowledge that it's from me. She'll be my husband. I'll be her husband. She'll be my wife. But Hosea Hosea is not an account of a time in Israel's history. Hosea is a living description of what goes on in our lives, our daily lives. It's not some far off time. We connect to it because we are Gomer in this story. We are Israel in this story. We are the promiscuous woman. We are the prostitute that goes after other idols and forsakes her first love. But what's interesting about verses 8, just verse 8, she has not acknowledged that I was the one who gave her the grain, the new wine and oil, who lavished on her the silver and gold, which they used for Baal, which Baal was a god that they worshiped. But when back then, in that time, and all the way up till Messianic times, what you did with stuff of that sort, with wine and grain, is you put them in the tomb with a corpse. And you stuffed valuable spices and myrrh into the linen. And they were called grave clothes. And that's how you buried. You buried it. That was the honorable way to bury. And basically, it's saying, when you leave God out of the picture, sin wells up. So she took all those blessings from God, and we do this. We take all the blessings from God, but we go away and we use them for sinful purposes. It's like we're wearing our grave clothes. It's like the two things are becoming grafted together. We're basically lying in our tomb pronouncing ourselves dead. Because the grave clothes are pretty much what it is death plus these valuable stuff. And that's what they were doing. It's what we do on a daily basis. We take sin over God and we take all the gifts from Him and don't acknowledge the things that come by living on this earth. And guys, tell you what, I am the Gomer of Gomers, the Israel of Israels. I do it just as much. So as I stand here preaching, I feel like I should be preaching at a mirror. I don't feel like I should be preaching to other people. But that's not the end of the story. The end of the story isn't we just die in our tombs. That's not how the story ends. The verse that was read, John 5, verse 28. Do not be amazed at this, for a time is coming when all who are in their graves will hear His voice and come out. Right now, as we sin and we walk away from God, we're in our graves, but hear His voice. God will not let us wear our grave clothes because we are among the living. Just like when Jesus, He raises Lazarus and He says, take the grave clothes off of him. He is living. Why does He still wear these? And of course this is painful for us because God takes away, He strips us of our grave clothes, all those things we carry around as we sin. And of course that's painful for us because those have been the things we've stored our hope and our happiness in. That's the things we've been putting all our faith in. And when they're taken away, we suffer. That is suffering. Taking away. And we run to God because He's all that's left. And the part that's almost troubling is in verse 7. She will chase after her lovers, but not catch them. She will look for them, but not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my husband as at first, for then I was better off than I am now. It seems almost unethical to me. Just that going back to your husband just because, well, I'm better off with him than I am now. All my grave clothes are gone. All the things that I've put my hope in are gone because God has taken them away from me. He snatched them from me. So I might as well go back. And it seems unethical, but it just shows how humble God is in His love. And the first time I stumbled across this idea was in a C.S. Lewis book. Yeah, you know me. I have to use some C.S. Lewis. And, but I don't look for it. It finds me. And not even kidding. And he calls it a divine humility. I'm just going to read you a short little passage. I call this a divine humility because it is a poor thing to strike out colors to God when the ship is going down under us. A poor thing to come to Him as a last resort, to offer up our own when it is no longer worth keeping. If God were proud, He would hardly have us on such terms. But He is not proud. He stoops to conquer. He will have us even though we have shown that we prefer everything else to Him and come to Him because there is nothing better now to be had. That spoke volumes to me. That God is so humble that He accepts us even though we've chosen everything before Him, and the only reason we're going to Him is because He's taken it away from us. He also describes pain as God's megaphone. If we're hearing His voice, sometimes that voice is in the form of pain. The pain that, maybe that's to show us that we're putting our hope in the wrong thing. Maybe the only way God has to show us that our faith is a house of cards is to knock it down. Maybe the only way to show us that the rope we are holding on to is to hang us over a cliff. Maybe that's the only way to show us that it's not the right thing, is to take it away. Maybe the only way for God to have us fix our eyes on Him is to take away the thing we're fixing our eyes on. And that's so humble that that's His method. He doesn't make us come on purely ethical, moral terms. He doesn't make us turn away. We don't turn away from sin sometimes. Sometimes God takes it from us. The things we sin against. Like if we put our hope in money or in fame or any other thing, He takes that away. And this probably sounds confusing. How did I get this from Hosea? So I'm going to read again. I'm going to read verses 6 and 7. Therefore, I will block her path with thorn bushes. I will wall her in so that she cannot find her way. She will chase after her lovers, but not catch them. She will look for them, but not find them. Then she will say, I will go back to my husband as at first, for then I was better off than now. That is what goes on a daily basis, on an hourly basis in our lives. God, we put our things, this is God talking about Israel. We are Israel in this story. We put our hope in the wrong things. So God walls us in. He takes us away. He makes us suffer so that we'll come to Him. She will chase after her lovers, but not catch them. She will look for them, but not find them. That's a lot like say, we put our hope in money, then we go bankrupt. Or we put our hope in fame, then everybody starts hating us. God knows what He's doing, but at first it seems so cruel. They were just beginning to be happy. Isn't that what you want? For them to be happy? But He says, no, in the end, this will not satisfy. Pain is a warning. Oh, shoot. Did you see that? Yeah, that's right. I got skills. I probably shouldn't have dropped it in the first place, but that doesn't matter. So, but why does there's a quote that sums up everything of why pain occurs. St. Augustine, I don't know if you know who that is. I also had to look that up, but he's a famous Christian, basically. He said, God wants to give us something, but He cannot, because our hands are full. He has nowhere to put it. And so maybe His only way of giving us something better is to take the thing in which our hands are in. And of course, they're like, well, they're happy. Well, you're setting your sights too low. We're far too easily pleased with the lives we live. I think, and I am just as bad about that. We're too easily pleased with fooling about with ambition and drink and all these sins when eternal life is waiting for us. And I'm going to read also Hosea 14 through 15. Therefore, I am now going to allure her. I will lead her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. There I will give her back her vineyards and will make the valley of trouble a door of hope. He's going to lead us into the wilderness because He wants us to get away from all the things that are capturing our attention, that are number one in our lives when they shouldn't even be on the list. There I will give her back her vineyards. In that valley of trouble, in that valley of suffering, that's where He's going to give you something better. Maybe God's pain isn't a method of cruelty. It's an instrument of which how God takes away those things. And once again, you're probably wondering, how in the heck did I get this from Hosea? You're probably thinking I didn't even stay to Scripture. But, which may be true, I'm not sure. But it says, there I will give her back her vineyards. In that trouble. Maybe when we come out of the tomb, where we thought that was happiness, while the blood of Christ is washing the grave clothes off of us, then He's going to give us a royal robe. Instead of a tomb, He's giving us a palace. Instead of grave clothes, He's giving us a royal robe, a purple robe. Maybe that's why when we're washed clean, and that's the only way that we can be washed clean, is by the blood of Christ. Because before Jesus, you were pretty much pronounced your own fate. But God said, no, your fate is sealed if you come to me. You seal your own fate by walking away from me, but your fate isn't sealed until the second coming. You have infinite amount of ways. You have an infinite number of second chances. Because I want you that much. I want you that much that I'm willing to stoop to conquer. I'm willing to take you, even though you're only taking me as an alternative to hell, which I've done that before. You know, I sin, and then I go to God just because, well, I really don't want to go to hell right now. What if Jesus came right now? I gotta hurry up and get back to God. You know, that thought has gone through my mind many times. So maybe God's call to obedience, God's call to stay faithful to us, is also a call of love. Maybe the call of obedience, he says, no, you're going to worship me and me alone. I shall be your only God. It's surrounded by the fragrance of, I'm your best shot. You don't just want to come to me because you made a covenant. You want to come to me because I'm the best thing. And I have to take away other things. That's how stupid us humans are. He has to take away the thing that we're holding so he can give us something better. Because he has nowhere to put it. I'm going to read one last verse that sums up, no, there's going to be two verses, but I'm going to read another verse that sums up basically the whole sermon right here. Come to me, all ye that travel and are heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and ye shall find rest for your souls. Come to me. That's what he's saying. He's shouting it in his megaphone of pain. Come to me. All ye that travel and are heavy laden by the grave clothes of sin, by the grave clothes of idolatry, by the grave clothes of death, come to me. Take my yoke upon you. Not the yoke of slavery, not the yoke of death. Take my yoke upon you. For I am gentle and humble in heart, and ye shall find rest for your souls. Now, I promise this is the last verse. What's the application? Of course we can come to God and we know how much he loves us, but how does it link to that charge that Jesus gives us to go be fishers of men? How does this connect? I'm going to go to the verse that Pat read. The Spirit and the bride say, come. And let the one who hears say, come. Let the one who is thirsty come. And let the one who wishes take the free gift of the water of life. Go. The Spirit and the bride say, come. Go say, come. Look at this love that we found that he has for us. Come. It's here. The free gift of the water of life. Let the one who is thirsty come. Like the woman at the well. She had 5 men in her life. None of them were her husband. She's never been married. As far as I know. Could be getting that wrong. But he said, no, I shall give you the water of life. You are thirsty. Come. Go and spread it out that there is a love that is so humble and it's so earnest that it's going to chase after us after thousands of years of rejecting him. It's so earnest that it's going to send his son to die on the cross as a declaration of how much he loves us. That is something to behold right there. Let the one who is thirsty come. Gomer, Israel, in Hosea, was thirsty for something. We're all thirsty for something. We all have the same desire. The difference is where we go look for to satisfy that desire. We all have the same desire. Sometimes I wonder whether or not we all just desire heaven. We've never desired anything else, but everything has just been a desire for heaven. She just looked in the wrong place. So God said, no, you're not going there. I'm going to wall you in. I'm blocking your path. You're going to come to me because I'm the right thing for you. So that pain that we feel when the things we've put our hope in are taken away, maybe that's necessary. Maybe the problem is that we can't go to God on our own terms. So he says, we're going to have to do this the hard way. I know that happens to all of us. We are the Gomer in this story. We are Israel in this story. We are the promiscuous woman. We are the prostitute. We leave our first love every day, every hour. I've done it in like 3 times in 30 seconds. I'm sure. But God keeps saying, return to me. Come to me. I'm going to read Matthew 11:28 one more time. Come to me, all ye that travel and are heavy burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and ye shall find rest for your souls. As we stand together, sing.